welcome to that 90s Wrestling Podcast. I'm your host, James Dunstone. Today, very special guest. She is a second-generation wrestler, daughter of the precious Paul Ellering, and the former Knockouts Tag Team Champion, the one and only Rachael Ellering. Rachael, how are you doing today?
Hi, I'm doing great. Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, my pleasure. When you made your return to Impact recently, I was like, oh, wow, Rachel's back, and it's great to see you tagging with Jordynne and just basically becoming a powerhouse in the division and having so much quick success since you've joined. So how does it feel joining Impact again?
Well, thank you for the kind words. I am having the time of my life, James. I never really saw myself as a tag team wrestler before I got to Impact, so that was a very pleasant surprise. And I've absolutely loved it. I love teaming with Jordynne. I think we have something very special together. She's become one of my best friends outside of wrestling as well, which is even better, right? Yeah. But just kind of being welcomed into the Impact family so far has been just incredible for me. The fans at the last tapings were so kind and welcoming, and I feel like I really found my place.
Awesome. And speaking of family, so normally I always ask everyone, what made you get into wrestling? So I would imagine your story is a little bit straightforward, obviously because of your legendary father. So when was the first moment that you realized, right, my dad's involved in the wrestling business? And when did you realize it was like, wow, this is like a larger than life job?
So actually, you would be wrong by assuming that it was my dad. My dad did not let us watch wrestling growing up.
Oh, right.
Yep. He, we didn't go to shows. We didn't grow up around it. And then when I was about 16, I just kind of fell down a YouTube rabbit hole like we do and just fell in love with it. And, I had some knowledge of my dad being a part of the business, but at that point in my life, he was already out of wrestling.
Right.
And so I love that was kind of my discovery though, because I got to truly take it in on my own and fall in love with it, by myself and find what I enjoyed about it and, who I enjoyed watching. And, the first time I saw Trish and Lita, their main event Raw match, I just knew, wow, this is something that I could do. It's everything I love. It's everything I'm good at, kind of thrown together in this beautiful, crazy package. And from that moment, I just never looked back, and anything I could learn about it, anytime I could watch it, I, tried to take advantage of that. And after I got my bachelor's degree, I moved straight to Calgary for wrestling training. So it is not what my dad wanted me to do. He was not super thrilled when I told him that, hey, I think this is what, I'm meant to do. This is what I'm going to thrive at. He was definitely not on board with that. But thankfully, as I got further into my career, he kind of came around a little bit.
I can imagine. And so I would imagine then growing up, even if you wasn't really known to the wrestling world, LOD, the Road Warriors, Hawk and Animal, I've seen you do previous interviews and you always called Hawk Uncle Hawk. So how was it having these larger than life guys and like two of the greatest guys of all time pop around the house?
Yeah, it's so funny because, for me, like my dad was just dad, and my Uncle Hawk was just Uncle Hawk, and so when you grow up, it's just so normal that you don't really know otherwise until you're old enough to fully grasp the magnitude of what they did and on the scale that they did it on. And so it really wasn't until I was, into high school, into college, that I really could comprehend how magnificent they were in wrestling. And so it was very fun to kind of look back and think, oh, I just would casually be hanging out with Hawk, right? And, he'd ask me how school was going. So that's not everyone's experience, right? But I'm very lucky it was. And my Uncle Hawk was very special to me. I still to this day always wonder if he would enjoy what I'm doing, if he would be proud of what I'm doing. And so, this past weekend at Homecoming, I'm glad that Tommy and I got to team together and kind of channel some of that and really just embrace it for the first time in my career. And we loved it. We had a great time.
Yeah, it was awesome. And you mentioned your training, and you trained underneath the legendary Lance Storm. So, what's Lance like to train under? Is he a bit of a hard one, or is he quite easy with everyone?
I would say in the middle. He's
Yeah,
not a big yeller or anything like that, but he is intense. And I think that that is the best way to approach training, anyways. And so I really connected with him and with that style of training. You're there for 3 months with him up in Calgary doing his course. And so my first time stepping foot in a ring was up there with him. My first bump was in his ring. And then 3 months later, I had my very first match. And so, to say he's an incredible trainer doesn't even really do it justice, because in just 3 months, I went from having never taken a bump to wrestling becoming my job. And so, that's in large part because of him and everything he taught me. And, he's trained hundreds and hundreds of people, and handfuls of them have become extremely successful. And so I think his track record is just impeccable.
yeah. And you mentioned, like, as soon as you finish wrestling school, you seem to be going up against the likes of like these big stars, past and present, the likes of Tessa Blanchard, Lisa Marie Farron, obviously Victoria, Tara for TNA fans, and even Alexa Bliss when you brief spell in NXT as well. So how was it kind of having like this crash course of like wrestling all these great names?
It definitely happened very quickly. I my 16th match of my entire life was against Alexa Bliss on NXT TV.
Yeah.
And so I was just a baby. I didn't know anything about anything at that point. I ended up doing a lot of extra work for NXT. I did extra work for, Impact. I did a couple matches with them. I did extra work with Ring of Honor. And so you just kind of are thrown into it. And I think wrestling is one of those things where if you're thrown into it quickly, you either figure it out or you don't, right? And
Yeah.
so I am very thankful I figured it out quickly, but I also was around great people to learn from. And that plays a big role in people's success. And, like you said, you mentioned Victoria, and, I got to wrestle Jazz when I was maybe a
Yeah.
year in. And she was so good to me when she did not have to be. And so I learned a lot from her, just sitting after the show and chatting with her about stuff. And so I'm very fortunate that I was thrown into those positions, because I met a lot of great people. I had a lot of really fun matches right away. I got to work in front of a lot of really great fans right away. And so I just haven't looked back since, essentially, and I've loved every minute of it.
Yeah, and you mentioned like obviously this is your second spell of Impact now, but your first spell, you was part of the one night only Knockouts Knockdown, and you faced the then Laurel Fan Nurse, aka Chelsea Green, and she's recently made her return. So how is it seeing Chelsea Green return to Impact?
Yeah, so that first time in Impact, I was not under contract or anything. I just had 2 matches as an extra. So a very different experience than I'm having now, where I'm a part of the locker room. And yeah, I did. I ended up wrestling Chelsea, and that was one of my favorite matches in my career up to that point. We had so much fun together. We both are trained by Lance. And so,
Yeah.
there's similarities in kind of our basic stuff that we do in matches. And then I've just known her since I was in school training with Lance. And she swung by the school one day just to say hi, because I think, finished training with him maybe 2 years before I got there. And so she just came by to say hi. So I met her before I ever even had a match, before
Hmm.
I had even finished training. And it was a great experience to wrestle her, on a special. And I loved that match. And I'm sure we will face off again now that she's, kind of going back and forth between Impact and Ring of Honor and Independence. And we'll see kind of what happens with her. But I look forward to getting back in the ring with her. Some of my favorite matches in my career, even just on independent shows, were with her. So it'll be a good experience to see where we both are now.
Oh, definitely. And you made your way to WWE, and things happened, and you eventually left. And someone else who's kind of had a similar route as yourself is the current Knockouts champion, Deonna Purrazzo. She had a stint there. Now she's come to Impact, and she's never looked back. She's the current Knockouts champion, and she's just become such a household name now. So, what have you made of Deonna's route to Impact and her past year in Impact Wrestling? And how is she as the standard bearer at the minute for the women's division? Obviously, one day you're hoping to be taking that title off her, but for the time being, how do you think she's held up as Knockouts champion?
Deonna's great. And like you alluded to, we have very similar careers. They almost scarily mirror each other.
Yeah, I noticed that.
We both, yeah, it's pretty fascinating. If people look into it, we both did a ton of extra work with a bunch of companies before we were picked up by NXT. We had our short stints there, where we didn't really get to show much. And now we're both in Impact. And so, I'm thrilled for her, truly, because I know what, the stuff I've been through in my career and the different phases of it, and knowing she's kind of been through nearly identical situations, it just gives you a level of respect for people because you know exactly what she went through. And, even just something as small as, moving away from your family and, just completely going all in on wrestling. I respect that so much. And that's been her approach to it. And yeah, she's killing it right now, man, as Knockouts champ. And, she's had a great run there so far. And I'm glad I get to share a locker room with her and, watch her kind of embark on this new phase of her career. But by no means do I think that I couldn't step in there with her and have a great one and leave with a little bit of gold in my bag. I'm having a fun time watching her right now. And I love teaming with Jordynne. So I'm very, very happy with where I am right now. But, down the line, I've said it before, I'll say it again. I truly want to be one of the best knockouts of all time, not just right now of this current crop. And so to do that, I'm gonna have to have that belt eventually. So we'll see when it happens, where it happens. But, for now, she's doing a good job of holding the division down.
Sure is. And I would imagine, so, I mean, you're in the tag team division now, and I would imagine a tag team you've had encounters with in the past and recently got released was the Iconics, Peyton Royce and Billy Kay. I don't know if that's their names they're allowed to use now, but we'll skate over that. But are they a tag team you would like to see in the Knockouts division one day?
Yeah, of course. I've never been in the ring with either of them. So it would be, fun just to step in the ring with them and kind of have that experience. Jordynne and I always say whenever anyone, would you face this person or this person? Yeah. I think any wrestler would say yes to that. And so we welcome anyone from anywhere, whether it's AEW, NWA, wherever. We just love the challenge of facing off with teams and, talented people. And so that's what we're out to do.
Awesome. And you mentioned your father earlier, and correct me if I'm wrong, I don't know if he's actually managed you in a match, but how would you feel if one day he would be able to manage you for a major company on screen?
He's never managed me, no. And I don't think he ever will. That's not something that I want. I've been very deliberate about creating my own path in wrestling and being known as Rachael, not just Paul's daughter. And so I wrote a thing about it after Homecoming, because that was really the first time that I've ever done anything Road Warrior related, on a show. I've avoided it intentionally. This was kind of the perfect timing and with the perfect person and Tommy, knowing how much he loves wrestling and how much the Road Warriors meant to him. It really was just the perfect timing for that. But I just prefer to do my own thing, and it's a strategy that has worked so far for me.
Cool. Right, so we're down to the last segment. So it's a word association. So I'll give you a few words, and whoever pops in your head, tell us. So
okay, sounds good.
So the first one, who's the best dressed
in Impact?
Yeah.
Ooh, shoot, that's a really hard question. You know what? I will go it's not fair because she's my tag partner, but I'll go with Jordynne. She has the cutest outfits always. These last tapings, she wore a pair of red jeans and she worked the heck out of them. So I'll say Jordynne.
Cool. This one's going to get you hate. Well, who's the worst dressed?
Worst dressed? Sue Young.
I
Girl
thought you
needs
were
to
going
do
to
some laundry. She's got some stuff on her dresses.
say runner-up, Caleb with a K.
Yeah. That's a great, James, that's a great pick.
Cool. Who's your favorite opponent you've had?
My favorite opponent I've had so far is honestly, it's Jordynne. Yeah, she was one of my favorite opponents I've ever had before I even came to Impact, because I've wrestled her a couple times on independent shows, and I'm always impressed with her. She, we kind of match each other strength wise, which is not something we normally come by in singles matches. And then we both have different strengths and weaknesses, but I think we truly bring the best out of each other. And, our one singles match that we've had on Impact TV was a blast. And I just felt like she really pushed me. Yeah. And so I'm sure one day we'll do it again, but I'd rather just team with her.
Cool. So we're running late, but last question. Who was your dream match in Impact Wrestling?
I will say Taylor Wilde right now.
Oh, yeah.
I will say Taylor Wilde. If people watched her right now, or just her match last week that was on, Impact, I think they would see it, right? And not even knowing all the stuff she did prior to coming back. She has not lost a step. Somehow she's gained a step. It's absurd. I think she's incredible. She's, her tenacity, her fire, her aggression, she's fast. And so I would love to step in the ring with Taylor.
Awesome. For Impact Wrestling fans, they can watch Impact Wrestling every week on the Impact Plus app and also watch the Impact specials. So yeah, everyone go and watch it. But before we do sign off, Rachel, tell everyone where they can find you on social media.
Yeah, absolutely. Exactly. Tune in Thursdays. You'll see me there. I am on Twitter at Rachael Ellering. Instagram is at the Rachael Ellering, I think. I have a pro wrestling tees store, a Big Cartel store. Feel free to check those out. But, most importantly, you could tune into Impact every week and see myself and my teammate Jordynne Grace kicking butt, hopefully.
Awesome. So it's been a pleasure talking to you, Rachel. Hopefully next time we'll be seeing Knockouts tag team titles back around your waist, or even better, the actual Knockouts title itself.
Let's do both, James. Sign me up for both.
Co-champions. Rachel Ellering, co-champion. Awesome.
Yeah.
Cool. Thanks.
Hey, James here. Thanks for checking out this interview. I'm guessing you enjoyed it because you are hearing my voice, but yeah, had a great time talking to Rachel. And I'm not going to be doing an announcement for next week's guest. I'm going to do something different. I'm going to surprise you because I've done so many interviews the last couple of weeks. I don't know which one to put up first. So I'm going to surprise you. So make sure you tune in. And to tune in, if you could please hit that subscribe button. I know I say it every week, but it really does help us out. The bigger the channel, the bigger the audience, which means that gives us more eyes and I can get more guests and we can hear these great stories, which not only do you enjoy, I hope you do, I enjoy. So please hit that subscribe button, hit the like button, and yeah, tell your friends. It really does help us out. And if you want to follow me on social media, follow me on Twitter at 90s Wrestling Pod. Follow us on Instagram or on Facebook, that 90s Wrestling Podcast. And yeah, give us a follow or I'll follow you back. So yeah, until then, I'll catch you in the next one. Bye.